Welcome to New York Institute of Technology's podcast, The Scope. Produced by the College of Osteopathic Medicine, our episodes focus on the medical school experience and how it helps shape future physicians. Learn about exciting new health and wellness initiatives, cutting-edge medical research and technology, and how to effectively navigate medical school. We are excited to have you join us.
Good morning and welcome. I am so incredibly excited for today's conversation as we're on location at NYITCOM recording the Dean's Circle edition of the Scope podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Wadsworth, Dean of the New York Institute of Technology, College of Osteopathic Medicine. It's my extraordinary honor and privilege to have the opportunity to speak with two truly legendary pioneers of osteopathic medicine and instrumental founders of NYIT, College of Osteopathic Medicine. Please welcome our dear friends, esteemed osteopathic physicians, astute visionaries, role models, and respected lifelong leaders in healthcare, Dr. Murray Goldstein and Dr. Marty Diamond. It's so incredible, and I'm in awe of having this truly special honor and historical opportunity to speak with you both this morning. Noting that we will soon be celebrating our 50th anniversary of NYIT College of Osteopathic Medicine. It's really incredible, and I think this is a perfect time to sit down with the both of you and discuss the story and the history related to the establishment of NYITCOM, now NYITCOM. Today, our conversation will address a number of topics, including the events leading up to the establishment of the school, the impact and advancement of osteopathic medicine throughout the last century, as well as valuable insights and vision of Dr. Goldstein and Dr. Diamond as they relate to medical education and medicine today. Before we begin, it's my pleasure to provide our audience with just a few highlights from these truly amazing careers. I'll start with Dr. Goldstein. Dr. Goldstein currently serves on the advisory board for the NYIT College of Osteopathic Medicine. He received his Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine degree from Des Moines University, which we were just talking about how terribly cold it was in the winter, and is board certified in public health preventative medicine by the American Osteopathic Board of Preventative Medicine, and in neurology by the American Osteopathic Board of Neurology and Psychiatry. He has served as a member and officer of AOBPM and is now a emeritus member. Dr. Goldstein is a founding member and past president of the American Osteopathic College of Occupational and Preventative Medicine and is a distinguished fellow of the organization. He served in the U.S. Tank Corps of the United States Army during World War II in the European theater and received the Purple Heart. Thank you for your service. Dr. Goldstein was the first osteopathic physician to be appointed to a commissioned medical office in the Uniformed Services of the United States and the first osteopathic medical officer to achieve star rank in the U.S. Uniformed Services. He served for 40 years as a U.S. Public Health Service commissioned medical officer and held positions of director, assistant surgeon general, and public health service at the 2-star rank of rear admiral. Among his many honors, Dr. Goldstein was designated as a great pioneer in osteopathic medicine by the American Osteopathic Association, a pioneer in osteopathic medicine by Des Moines University, and then by the New York State Osteopathic Medical Society. He received the American Osteopathic Foundation Lifetime Achievement Award in 2015. Dr. Goldstein also received 3 U.S. National Public Service Awards, Presidential Citation, prestigious national service, and a U.S. Congressional Commendation for Accomplishment. Dr. Goldstein is recognized internationally as a leader in research on cerebrovascular disorders and on disorders of the developing brain. Dr. Goldstein, that's just so amazing. And now it's my pleasure to provide a few highlights from the extraordinary career of Dr. Martin Diamond. Dr. Martin Diamond received his Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine degree from Des Moines University College of Osteopathic Medicine and Surgery. He received certification from the American Osteopathic Board of Family Physicians and then practiced in the field of general practice, family practice for 35 years. In 2003, Dr. Diamond became a fellow of the American College of Osteopathic Family Physicians. Prior to attending medical school, Dr. Diamond served in the United States Navy as a medical corpsman. Among his prestigious professional leadership positions, Dr. Diamond served as both director and president of the New York State Osteopathic Medical Society, director of the Osteopathic Family Practice Residency Program, director of medical education and director of osteopathic medical services at Maimonides Medical Center in Brooklyn, New York, director of osteopathic medical education at Nassau University Medical Center, where I first met Dr. Diamond, and as member of the House of Delegates of the American Osteopathic Association. Chairman of the New York delegation to the AOA House, Associate Dean of Academic Affairs at NYITCOM, and was the founding dean of the Touro College of Osteopathic Medicine in Harlem, New York. He also maintained an active family medicine practice during most of his career. Among his numerous honors, Dr. Diamond has been recognized by the New York State Osteopathic Medical Society, the Des Moines National Alumni Association College of Osteopathic Medicine and Surgery, and the AOA, where he was the recipient of the Distinguished Service Certification, which is the highest award bestowed by the AOA. Dr. Diamond received the Ryland Medal of Public Service from the NYT College of Osteopathic Medicine and the School of Health Professions. Dr. Diamond is past member of the Des Moines University Board of Trustees and the university's Alumni Association Board of Directors. He was named the College of Osteopathic Medicine Alumnus of the Year in 1999 and has been honored for his distinguished service to the osteopathic profession. As past chairman of the New York State Board of Medicine, he served many years on the Board of Professional Medical Conduct for the state of New York and the Board of Directors of the National Alumni Association of the College of Osteopathic Medicine and Surgery. Dr. Diamond believes in giving back to his alma mater and has, as exemplified by he and his wife generally pledging to DMU's Purple and Proud campaign to name the Martin Diamond DO 1962 and Constance Diamond Small Learning Commons, located in the Innovation Building on the University campus in West Des Moines. Incredible. I'm just so honored. We have a lot of history to cover, and I think a great place for us to start our conversation is to hear about your personal stories and what led you each to choose osteopathic medicine. So this is for both of you. Can you share a few details about how you became interested in becoming an osteopathic physician?
Finished college, but because of the timing of my having entered the military, I graduated in January, got my bachelor's degree from New York University. I knew I wanted to go to medical school. By the way, I had never heard of osteopathic medicine. I was born and raised in New York. Never heard of it. But there I was, end of January, a graduate, a couple of years behind because of the war. And I wanted to get on with it. And a local physician, I went to his office. His office was in his home. And asked him, did he know about any medical schools that started in February so that I could get on? Well, I didn't really recognize that he was a DO. And he told me, he said, Murray, there is an osteopathic medical school in Des Moines that has a February class. And I'd suggest you apply. And I said, a what? Osteopathic? What does that mean? So he told me about it. Well, I was suspicious. So I went to Albany, New York, the capital city of New York State, and met with a member of the board, the medical board there, and asked him, tell me about osteopathy. What is it? I was really thinking it was chiropractic. And he explained it to me. He was an MD, by the way. He explained it to me and ended up by saying, Murray, there's really no difference here in New York. Osteopathic physicians and medical physicians both get the same medical license. And if you want to try, and he looked it up and he found that Des Moines had this February entering class. And so I decided I would go to Des Moines or apply to Des Moines, and if admitted, I would spend my freshman year. And if I didn't like it, then I'd start all over again in medicine. Well, I went to Des Moines and I loved it. It was a small school. There were 70 students in the freshman class. One of my professors, I had a furnished room down the road to live in, and one of my professors going to work every morning picked me up and took me to school. It was a friendly school, and I just loved it. And so that's how I entered osteopathic medicine.
Let me just say this. It's a total honor for me to sit next to Murray. He's a guy that I've always admired. I knew about him before he knew about me. I heard about osteopathic medicine really through Murray, even though he didn't know it. My mother, knew his sister, who lived in Long Beach, New York. And that's how I first heard about it. She said, if you were going to apply to medical school, you really have to get in touch with Murray Goldstein. He went to medical school in Des Moines, Iowa. It's an osteopathic medical school, and he could probably tell you a lot about it. Now, I don't recall, because I'm an old guy now, so I don't recall everything, whether we actually talked or I got the information through my relatives. But it all happened many, many years ago. So it's an honor for me to sit next to Murray and go over old times. Now, it's rare that a guy that only achieved hospital corpsman second class sit next to an admiral. It doesn't usually happen. It doesn't happen that often, but it's happening. It's happening right now. And as it turned out, one of my daughters was an Army doctor for about 8 years, and she enjoyed her experiences. She's a radiologist now. I have another daughter who's a internist geriatrician, and I have a granddaughter who just finished her neurology residency at Mass General, the Harvard place. So we're well entrenched in medicine right now. But as far as my time in the military was Navy. I was a hospital corpsman second class, which I think the equivalent is a staff sergeant. And I was on an aircraft carrier. I was a corpsman on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier. And I guess the experiences of saving some folks' lives there was my impetus to go to medical school. And you know my career there. I guess when you're in your 90s, you don't do that much care, but you're still involved with everything in the profession. And being an osteopathic physician was one of the loves of my life. And I guess that's all I have to say right now. Thank you.
Thank you. What incredible things to sort of reflect on. And it is because of people like yourselves, I can be here today. And there are students with us in the audience. And maybe at the moment you didn't realize what you were doing, but the groundwork and everything that you set has really allowed osteopathic medicine to flourish the way it is today. So Dr. Goldstein, I know there was something additional you wanted to share.
Nicole, I wanted to orient the people here about what it meant to be an osteopathic physician at the time we were in training and afterwards. DOs were not permitted to enter a patient in a medical hospital. Medical hospitals were closed to DOs, and so we built our own hospitals. And as an example, Des Moines had 4 osteopathic hospitals. Second, graduates of osteopathic medical schools could not take graduate residency training in a medical hospital. They had to take it in our osteopathic hospitals. And one of the problems was that we were not prepared to do that in certain specialties. And as an example, neurology, the study of the nervous system and brain, we did not have any osteopathic hospital with a training program in neurology. DOs were not admitted as students to schools of public health to get masters of public health. And so we were an enclave unto ourselves. We had to provide for ourselves. And by provide, I mean education. We trained each other. We could not go elsewhere. I was in a residency in internal medicine in the Des Moines College Hospital. I was the internal medicine resident. And the president of the Des Moines College called and asked me to come over to his office, which was across the street in the teaching building. And he said, "Murray, I want you to do a favor for me." President? And I said, "Well, of course, sir." He said, "I want you to go to Kansas City and take the examination for the public health service." And I looked at him and said, "What? I'm not interested in public health. I'm an internal medicine resident. And you promised me a job after I finished the residency." He said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just go and take the exam. And we want to find out if a DO can pass the exam." By the way, he was lying to me. We just want to find out. And you know what? I'll pay all your expenses. Go to Kansas City, go to a nice hotel, have a good dinner for a resident, have a good dinner, and take the damn exam. And so, okay. So I went to Kansas City, registered in this beautiful hotel, had most expensive dinner they had on the menu. Next morning went and wrote the exam. And the exam was very much like a medical state board, but it was heavier, shall I say, on public health issues for obvious reasons. So I took the exam. It was all over. And I had to, they were already also arranged for me to be interviewed across the river from Kansas City, Missouri, is Kansas City, Kansas, and Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary. And the Public Health Service runs the medical. And so I had an interview with the head of the clinic at Leavenworth. It was a strange interview because he had never met an osteopathic physician. And all he did was question me about what is osteopathy. He had never had a contact. And so the 2 hours of the interview was me merely telling him about what osteopathic medicine was about. Well, anyway, it was over. I came back to Des Moines and went to work in the hospital. Forgot about it. About 3 months later, I get a phone call from an assistant surgeon general of the Public Health Service in Washington, D.C., asking me, can I come for an interview? An interview? Public Health Service? And so I said, well, sir, I'm a resident. I can't just pack my bag. There's a schedule. Let me work it out. I'll call you back. So I ran over and saw the president again. I said, I got this phone call. I'm not interested. What do I do? And she said, well, it would be an insult if you didn't go. He said, I'll pay your expenses. Go to Washington, take the interview, and, you'll be okay. So I called back, arranged the interview, came to Washington, and met the Assistant Surgeon General. We talked again, and most of the conversation was, again, him asking me, what is osteopathy? What do you people do? And so I spent a couple hours chatting, and it got to be about 11:15, and he said, well, Dr. Goldstein, there's a limousine downstairs. It's taking you out to the NIH, which is the research arm of the Public Health Service, and you have an appointment there. So go on downstairs, pick up the limousine, it'll take you out to NIH. Quite frankly, I had never heard the term NIH before. Absolutely no idea. Well, limousine takes me out to Bethesda and deposits me in front of a building that says National Heart Institute. Well, first I was overwhelmed with the campus. Such a beautiful campus. And it all looked so exciting. Anyway, I went in to the front office and learned I had a luncheon appointment with the director of the National Heart Institute, Jim Watt. By the way, Jim Watt and I later became personal friends. And again, Jim asked me, what's osteopathy? And I told him. And he said, well, we've agreed to appoint you to the Public Health Service, and you will be stationed here at NIH in the National Heart Institute. When can you get here? When can I get here? I said, well, I don't know. I'm just finishing a residency. I can't pack my bag. And he said, okay, Murray, when do you finish the residency? And I said, well, November. He said, okay, I'll expect you here in November. And he said, how much research experience have you had? I said, none at all. He said, don't worry about it. I'll assign you to a young scientist, and in no time at all, you'll be doing research. So I packed my bag and went back to Des Moines, scratching my head. What the hell do I do now? Well, he's expecting me in November. So, okay, I'll go for a year or two, learn to do some research, and then come back here and start a research program. And so I was commissioned as a medical officer in the Public Health Service, assigned to NIH. Now, the big point was that a DO, for the first time, was being commissioned a medical officer in one of the uniformed services of the United States. It had never happened before. By the way, you see, it had nothing to do with me. This was all going on in the higher politics. I was just the instrument. And I was commissioned as a medical officer with a rank in a uniformed service, came to NIH, and soon got involved. I had a wonderful mentor, a man. He trained me in science. He was superb, and he was a friend. And so a DO, for the first time, entered a federal service, had a military rank, and was being treated as a fellow physician.
Well, Dr. Goldstein, you were an ambassador
Well,
for the profession, and
the point I want to make is it had nothing to do with me. I was being maneuvered. I just, quite frankly, ignored it all and just did the work I was supposed to do. And fortunately, it worked out okay. But as a follow-up of that, let me put it this way. I initiated the stroke research program at NIH. By the way, why did they appoint me to NIH? They never told me this, but it was quite obvious later on. The Public Health Service had 5 hospitals, and they weren't about, at that time, to assign a DO as a physician in a hospital when the AMA forbid it. And so they sent me to a research organization where this had nothing to do with anything. 1/3 of the staff were PhDs, you see. And so they kind of buried me in a research environment. Little did they realize that I enjoyed it and was doing okay. Well, I went and saw my boss, Jim Watt, about 3 years later, and said, "Jim, I got a problem." And he said, "What's the matter, Murray?" I was doing stroke research on vascular disease of the brain. I said, "Well, I know a lot about cardiovascular disease. I'm in the Heart Institute, that. But you know what? The damage done by stroke is to the brain. And I don't know a damn thing about the brain. And it's interrupting my research. I've got to learn about the brain." And he smiled and said, "Okay, what did you have in mind?" And I said, "Well, sir, I took the initiative and I visited with a colleague and friend at the Mayo Clinic. And they are willing to accept me in the Department of Neurology as a resident in neurology. But I'm a public health service officer, and it would require you assigning me to the Mayo Clinic." And he said, "Sure." Well, I was assigned and went to the Mayo Clinic and did a residency in neurology. But I was a DO doctor in a medical hospital. It broke the blackboard.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do it to break the blackboard. I was thinking about Murray Goldstein. But I entered a medical, St. Elizabeth Hospital is one of the big hospitals of the Mayo Clinic. And I was a doctor in the hospital, taking care of sick people on the neurology ward, what have you. And you know what? From that day on, DOs could treat patients in medical hospitals. It broke the blackboard. They showed me at Mayo the literature. They had written to the AMA and said, we are considering appointing an osteopathic physician who is a medical officer in the United States Public Health Service as a resident in our neurology department. They didn't ask for permission. What they said was, do you have any comment? And the letter that came back said, we have no comment. They did not approve it. They did not disapprove. But it broke the blackboard. The bad result of that is we don't have any osteopathic hospitals anymore.
We don't.
We as osteopathic physicians admit our patients to medical hospitals. And the need for an osteopathic hospital is no longer there. And I've always wondered, was that a good thing?
You bring up a good point, Dr. Goldstein, that we unfortunately, I just had a chance to talk to students about that, and I think we'll talk more about osteopathic identity. I'm going to turn to Dr. Diamond, and what was your experience as you entered practice and the restrictions and the discrimination against DOs during that time?
I opened practice on Long Island. And they were, at the time, was just starting to say, well, we really need an osteopathic hospital. Because at the time, we were having difficulty getting privileges in the allopathic hospitals. So somehow the number of DOs that were on the island kind of chipped in whatever money they had, and we bought a hospital. We bought Massapequa General Hospital, which was really not in Massapequa, it was in Seaford, which was a block past Massapequa. It was called Massapequa General Hospital. It was a 100-bed hospital, and we did just about everything there. And that started us, in the right direction on Long Island, and of course expanded to everything under the sun, all the places. Eventually had residency programs that were not necessarily osteopathic, but they were combined residencies which DOs could be into. And now, of course, if you have an osteopathic degree, it's no different than an allopathic degree, except you had all this extra knowledge to contribute to the patient and the patient's welfare, which I think is remarkable. And of course, we're all over the place now. And when I tell people I'm an osteopathic physician, they not only know about it, but they're so happy to have a conversation with somebody who has this background and training. But I think that's a major plus. And I think the program that you have today and the program that the extravaganza last night was absolutely fabulous. And Nicole, this place is lucky to have you. Really.
Thank you, Dr. Diamond. That is an incredible compliment, and I'm appreciative. I want to just follow up on something you said about osteopathic medicine. And today, our students can train anywhere, and we have amazing students that do go everywhere. And I'm a firm believer that the DO today has something significant to offer to the healthcare environment that our allopathically trained colleagues don't have. And that we can start to address some of the serious issues that our healthcare system is experiencing. And so I said this last year, and I'll probably say it 10 more times. It is the right time to be a DO in our current healthcare system. And so I appreciate your worry for identity. I think we're in a place where that identity will become even more important to provide care to the U.S.
Well,
population.
I do hope so. We are at the brink of potential change. Things are in flux about medical care nationally. It has nothing to do with DOs or MDs. We are in a real changing time. And our osteopathic physicians are part of this. We are no longer isolated. We are as much part of the American medical scene as our friends in the allopathic. The Surgeon General of the United States Army was a DO. The White House hospital, the White House medical clinic, the clinic that takes care of the President of the United States, is a DO.
Yep.
And one of our alumni.
Yep. He's one of my students.
One of your
It's
students.
just
Yeah.
Kevin, yeah.
Yeah.